Also YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you a combo guide and then some random test stands for the Ritual of Light and Darkness deck that I showed you all the other day. Now this does involve the Fallen of Albaz. However, as a cheaper alternative to the Albaz package, a package that could be pretty good, which takes up near enough the same slots, is the Duskwalker, and Antcaster. So that is a level 5 monster that lets you discard a card to special summon it from the hand, and then you get to special summon the Antcaster from the deck. Now obviously the big difference is it doesn't let you send a card like Albion to get you access to the Fallen the Virtuous quickly and easily, and it doesn't have its recurability, and then later game plays it doesn't have that. But it is a fraction of the price, and on top of that as well, it then means that you can open up your extra deck a little bit more, because then you don't need to use stuff like your Fallen of Albaz or your Mirror Jade or anything else like that, so it gives you a bit more of a different option. However, what I am going to do with this version is I'm going to show you how the Fallen and White can really help you out. It will still be the exact same thing if you were to use the Dustwalker as well. But I'll show you how Fallen of White works, and then I'll show you how you can search out the degenerate cards in your side deck, just to give you a bit of an idea of what the deck wants to try and achieve. So you start off with the Fallen and the White. With the Fallen and the White, you're going to be able to send a Albion. You can send any of the other targets you want as well, but the idea is the Albion is going to get you the Fallen and the Virtuous, which gives you another layer of disruption. You're going to summon down the Fallen of the White. You're then going to be able to get an Ecclesia directly from the deck. So you'll pretty much be doing the exact same thing if you use the Dustwalker. You'd still get the ability to make a Synchro level 8. You just don't lock yourself into Synchro level 8s as well, or Fusion level 8s, which is still pretty good. So sync these two together. These two are going to go into your Crimson King. So this is just going to show you how you bridge from the Fallen and White into your Ritual Light and Darkness. You're going to use the Crimson King's effect. This is going to grab you your spell card of Crimson Call. Now I prefer to play Crimson Call rather than Soul Resonator, just because the Soul Resonator does use your normal summon, whereas later on in the turn maybe I might want to use the Celtic Mystic as my normal summon, and I just felt that this was probably a little bit more effective, but to each their own. Activate Crimson Call, and then Crimson Call will allow you to grab a level 4 or lower Fiend directly from the deck, because you control a monster that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend. So we're going to get our Griffo. Then you use your Griffo effect, discard this, grab you access to your Mind Shuffle. Activate your Mind Shuffle because it could be activated the turn it's been set. Use the effect to grab hold of your Skull Archfiend of Chaos, discard it. Skull Archfiend of Chaos effect will trigger. This will then put your Light and Darkness Ritual into the graveyard as well. And then you'll be able to add a monster that is mentioned on that Light and Darkness Ritual. Now in this scenario you're going to want to make sure you go and get your Black Chaos, so your Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. And then you'll be able to use the graveyard effect of the Light and Darkness Ritual to add it back to the hand and add back the Griffo. Then activate the Light and Darkness Ritual, using Griffo as the entire level tribute requirements. Summon down your Magician of Black Chaos. At this point, the only spells we've got in the graveyard is Crimson Call, which isn't bad, or the Light and Darkness Ritual, so you can add either of these back. It doesn't make much of a difference, so you can add that one back. And then if you wanted to, you could summon back the Skull Archfiend of Chaos, but honestly you don't need to. You just move to the end phase, you resolve the Albion, and you get access to your Fallen and the Virtuous. So from the one card, what you've been able to achieve is you've got the ability of your Magician of Dark Chaos. So unaffected by your opponent's effects unless they target them, activate effects. You've got your Crimson King that can tag out into a Red Dragon Archfiend. You've got your Mind Shuffle, so that during your opponent's turn you basically just repeat the exact same thing with the Skull Archfiend. Is you'd go utilise the Mind Shuffle to add your Blackluster Soldier this time. Sorry, not Blackluster Soldier, let's jump in a step. If you want to make sure you don't have to discard and you deck fin, you add the Skull Archfiend. Do the exact same thing again, which is why you also play 2 Light and Darkness, and then grab your Blackluster. So you've done all of that, and then basically what this means is that during your opponent's turn you have the ability to Mind Shuffle. So when they activate an effect you go and swap around, banish a card, and then they activate another effect, you go cool, do this again, and now your Black Chaos can trigger to grab back the Crimson Call, so you've got that follow up, and then you're basically just going to keep shuffling those two around, and you can tag this out into a Red Dragon Archfiend for a 6k boss monster at any point. You've also then got the ability to use Fallen and the Virtuous, and that would then ultimately end up sending a card like Rinbroom, or you can send the Ecclesia Synchro, and then that just gives you another line of disruption. So that's the basic of what the Albaz can do. Now you can do the exact same thing with the Dustwalker, the only difference is you don't get the Fallen and the Virtuous. So if you are on a much tighter budget, that is one option for you. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what happens if you have access to a Griffo and the Fallen and the White, or again in the budget option, the Dustwalker. It will do the exact same job. So you do the exact same thing with the Fallen and the White, but because we already have the Griffo, we don't need to go into the Crimson King. So we're actually going to synchro into the new, wherever it may be, the free champions of Sword Soul. You're going to use the free champions of Sword Soul to grab a spellcaster that's attack matches its defense. Now, in the main deck right now, I'm playing the Pharaoh. Now, Pharaoh is actually quite nice because you can use Pharaoh's effect when it's discarded off a Mind Shuffle to take control of one of your opponent's monsters. However, to show you the degenerate play, instead of Pharaoh, let's just imagine we've gone through our side deck. Now, in my side deck, as I've shown you before, I play the Pharaonic Advent and I also play Anti-Spell Fragrance. So I'm going to show you how you can make these without needing to go through the Charmer Bloom as well. So instead of adding the Pharaoh, you'd actually add the Pharaonic Advent because it's 2k Spellcaster. Now, the one thing you've got to remember is that when you use the effect to tribute off a Fairy, Reptile, or Fiend, you can't switch on for the rest of the turn, so you need to do everything else before that. So we've added this card to our hand. We're now going to use Griffo. We're going to repeat the exact same process that we did before. So we're going to be able to grab, Mind Shuffle, activate the Mind Shuffle, add the Skull Archfiend, discard the Skull Archfiend, send Light and Darkness, grab our Magician of Black Chaos. There we go. Grab those, add back the Light and Darkness Ritual, and add back the Griffo. Activate the Light and Darkness using Griffo, getting our Magician of Black Chaos. Add back the Light and Darkness Ritual. And then what we've got here is you're then going to be able to use the effect of the Pharaonic Advent. So the Pharaonic Advent can tribute one monster to special summon itself. So before we do that, what you want to make sure you do is you can use your Skull Archfiend of Chaos, and it needs to put back a card that is Light and Darkness, so you put back your Griffo, and then you've got to put back 2 more cards. So we're going to put back Fallen of the White, and we're going to put back the Ecclesia, or in this scenario you can actually put back the Antcaster, which is quite useful because it means you can use the Dustwalker again. But the other is you're putting all 3 of these back, you're going to get back your Skull Archfiend of Chaos. Then you're going to special summon down your Advent by triggering off the free Champion Sword Soul, which you can do before or after. And then we're going to use this effect to tribute off a Fiend monster in the form of the Skull Archfiend of Chaos. And this will then allow you to grab you any continuous trap card in the entire game. And we're going to grab ourselves the Anti-Spell Fragrance. So you'll be able to set the Anti-Spell Fragrance. You won't be able to special summon, but again, you don't need to worry about that for the rest of the turn. That's absolutely fine. So during your opponent's draw phase, you flip the Anti-Spell Fragrance, and you're still good to cook. Now, technically, you could set the Ritual Light and Darkness so that you can use it during your next turn. And you'd also, with the Albion that you sent, you'd also be able to set your Fallen and the Virtuous. So let's get to step ahead. But this is kind of what your field would look like. And to be honest, if I'm facing down a known Anti-Spell Fragrance, it's a little bit more nervy. Like, you need to see a Fallen and the Virtuous, you need to see an Evenly Matched or something along those lines. So if this is expected, you're going to be a little bit more prepared for it. If it's not expected, it can really catch you off guard. And the fact this can get you any continuous trap card in the entire game, technically, if you really wanted to, you could make Gozen. But if you do Gozen, you won't be able to tag out your Magician of Dark Chaos because your Blackluster Soldier is an Earth monster. So, yeah. So that's what would happen if you involve the side deck. It can be very, very degenerate, but I wanted to show you and highlight how easy it is to access that card. And do not be surprised if that maybe post a list, we might, I would like to think we can start to see cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance, more so like Spell Canceller, probably start getting gone, cleared off. And I think that'll probably be a little bit healthier for the game, but I don't know. But just be aware, like, while it's legal, you kind of have to use and abuse it where it's all possible. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some randomized test hands, so you'll get in the combos that you need, and then I'm going to give you some randomized test hands so you can see exactly what the deck can do and how it tries to achieve it with a full hand, so you'll get a little bit more interaction. So I'll start a very decent shuffle and a good old cut. Our starting hand of 5 will be 1, good start, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's actually quite a nice hand, to be fair. So you're going to start with the Fawn and the White Dragon. Fawn and the White, you do have the option to send Albion if you want to. You've already got the Fawn and the Virtuous. So you'd get the second copy of Fawn and Virtuous, which isn't the worst thing to do. So send the Albion, grab yourself your Ecclesia. We don't have access to Griffo, so we'll do the exact same thing that I've just shown you in the combos. We're going to bridge into our Chaos. Sorry, our Griffo. So you'll go Crimson King. You're going to grab Resonator Call. Crimson Call. Activate Crimson Call. Grab Griffo. Discard the Griffo. Place your Mind Shuffle. Activate the Mind Shuffle. Using the effect, add the Skull. Discard the Skull. Send the Light and Darkness. Grand Magician of Dark Chaos. All swings and roundabouts here. And then what you can do here is you can use Light and Darkness to add itself back and add back the Griffo. Activate the Light and Darkness. Using the Griffo, get your Magician of Black Chaos. Probably add back the Light and Darkness ritual here, just so you've got it guaranteed. Could again add back the Crimson Call. The only thing different here is if I wanted to, I could summon down the Black Chaos, but to be fair, I don't think it's really worth it. I suppose the other thing I could have done, which might have been a little bit more efficient for me, is if I had used Black Chaos to discard that to place the Mind Shuffle, and then use the Griffo to get the Magical Hats. I suppose that's the better way of doing it. So the Chaotic Magic Hat, so I've got both of these now instead. Shouldn't make that big of a difference, but regardless. And then we'll set these. It's entirely up to you on how you want to resolve the Celtic Mystic. To be honest, I mean, if I use the Celtic Mystic, my opponent's going to know that I have access to 2, 4 and the Virtuouses. Okay? So what I mean by that is, I kind of don't want them to know I've got Super Polarization, so I can set a card here before I do anything. I could afford to set the 4 and the Virtuous first, and then go normal summon Celtic Mystic. Then, if it's normal or special, you reveal your entire hand, and if you reveal a card that mentions Light and Darkness Ritual, you get to draw 3 cards. Now, I wonder if this counts as mentioning Light and Darkness Ritual, because technically it is Light and Darkness. Oh no, it does. Right on. It's fine. Ignore that. So then you get to draw 3 and discard 2. So draw 3. Nice. 2, 3. Discard 2. Ooh, okay. So what you've got to be very careful of here, right? So I would definitely discard the Light and Darkness, because then my opponent doesn't know any of these cards. But then the question becomes, do I discard Super Poly, and then my opponent goes, right, he's probably got a Super Poly along that spell and trap zone? Or do I then, like, whatever I discard, it gives my opponent information. I discard the Magnet, it's probably the weakest card here, and you need to keep the Super Poly in the hand for the discard. Then we've got the Harmonia in our hand. And then during the end phase, we'll resolve the Albion. And to be honest, I would probably just add the 4 and the Virtuous. And the reason I do this is I've already got one set. My opponent already knows there's one there because I've added it. So by adding the 4 and the Virtuous, they know I've got one set more times than not. Like, very rarely will you not set the 4 and the Virtuous. So regardless, as this goes over to your opponent's turn, you have quite a lot to do. So just to give you a bit of an insight into what you do during your opponent's turn, is you can activate the Mind Shuffle very easily and early. And again, you'd go for the Skull, deck fin the Skull, send in the 2, and grab your Blackluster Soldier. So now you've got both your access to your rituals. Keep in mind that your spells and traps are currently protected while your Magician of Black Chaos is on the field, which is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, from this point on, it's kind of endless. You can't use the magical hats yet because you need to have the zones free to do so. At least I believe it is. I'm pretty sure it's exactly 4. Yeah, it's exactly 3 spells and then the 1 monster. So you can't use that yet. But what you can do is you've got Super Polymerization. I mean, you probably want to save that for after. But the idea is Super Polymerization, discard whatever you want from this hand. So it doesn't make that big of a difference. Let's get into any of our targets. Let's go Garura, just for the sake of it. You've got Fallen the Virtuous. You'll send in this one, we can send probably Rinbrum or Titaniclad. You can only resolve the Rinbrum to the maximum potential if you have 2 zones free, so you probably want to put the Garura into the extra monster zone just to guarantee you have that, but entirely up to you. So you send whatever you want to. That's Fallen on the Virtuous. Then we've got Mind Shuffle at some point, which can return this for this, which will then banish 1 card. And then we still have Harmonia as well, which is pretty degenerate, because Harmonia would then do its thing, send in 1, destroy in 1. And then we've still got Mind Shuffle as well, that can then go. So, yeah. And that can technically recycle anything from the graveyard. Super Poly, let's go! Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Now what I'm going to do on the second test hand is, hopefully, I see a Griffo. Because if I see a Griffo, I'll show you how you play during your opponent's first turn, which is also pretty degenerate. And if you see Griffo and Harmonia, it gets really bad for your opponent, because what you get to do is the Griffo gets you access to your Mind Shuffle. Your Harmonia is your level 7 or higher monster that you can return. So you Harmonia your opponent, then you Mind Shuffle into the Blackluster Soldier, and that's all during your opponent's turn, and you've ended up banishing, destroying 1, either returning 1, putting 1 in the spell and trap zone, and then banishing 1, all during their turn. And then you get to recycle all the materials during your turn as well, which is pretty bad. Anyway, so going for 6, starting off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not the best go second hand, I'm not going to lie. 6. Really not the best go second hand. That's a weird hand. Okay. Interesting. I suppose in this scenario, it's going to come down to the Celtic Mystic resolving. Because I would have to go Super Poly, discard. I don't know if I need to resolve. Like, do I need the Crimson Call? I might actually need to. Yeah, I mean, the Celtic Mystic's actually really important here. Anyway, okay, so we'll go Super Poly, we'll discard this. Let's say we Garura to make sure that our Celtic can resolve, right? So we normal summon our Celtic, reveal the 3, draw 3, ditch 2. Okay, Ragged Rights of Records gets us what we need. So let's then discard 2. So we'll discard. I mean, Mind Shuffle's of no use to me in my hand right now, this very second. So we'll discard both of those. Activate Ragged Records of Right. If I want to be aggressive, I'll go for Black Chaos. But honestly, I don't really need to be that aggressive yet. So we'll go Griffo, we'll do the exact same plays here. We'll grab Mind Shuffle, activate the Mind Shuffle, send basically the Summon Skull first, Skull, and then the Light and Darkness Ritual. Actually, why did I do that? I don't need to do that. What am I talking about? I don't need to do that. We'll grab instead the Black Chaos. Then what you do is you do the Black Chaos, summon it down by putting the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos back into the deck. We don't have the Ritual spell in the graveyard, so this is currently not unaffected, but if we could have done that would have been pretty good, which would have been through... I mean, I could have done through the Skull, actually. No, the Skull would have got me the Ritual monster, so this is no use. Anyway, I digress. Black Chaos then uses effect to banish 2, so that's quite useful. Then you can use Mind Shuffle to return this to the hand to get you access to the Blackluster Soldier, which will banish 1 more. And then I guess this should have been summoned in an attack, and then you'd have to hopefully have enough to have cleared off. Then you attack, so that would be hopefully 45 direct, and then 3,000, so 7,500, and then 1,400 would be the rest for game, basically. Now what I will do is I'll show you the custom hand, so I'll show you the hand of Harmonia plus the Griffo, just so you have a bit of an idea of what happens during turn 0 against your opponent, so you're getting all the ideas of everything you need to. So All you need to do is open up a combination of these two, which is a little bit hard to do because there are only 3 ofs in the deck and you don't get to search them during turn 0. But the idea is what you get to do here is you'd go Harmonia, send whatever you want. So my targets of choice are Packbit, Malong, or Wind Agnista, so any of those will get the job done. Obviously with Packbit you do need to discard, so keep that in mind. Then use the Griffo, still during your opponent's turn, remember. Place the Mind Shuffle. You can activate the Mind Shuffle this turn. Use the effect to add. You'd add the Summon Skull and then discard the Summon Skull. So again, we're just doing this with exactly those 2 cards. Discard the Summon Skull sends Light and Darkness, and then you grab a Ritual Monster. So in this scenario, we're going to grab the Black Luster Soldier. Then you get to use the Mind Shuffle effect, return the Harmonia to the hand, summon down the Black Luster Soldier. Black Luster Soldier then banishes one of your opponent's cards. And then that's pretty much it. So Harmonia's destroyed one, and then whatever synchro you sent applied its effect, and then Black Luster Soldier has now banished another one. So you've cleared off nearly 3 cards against your opponent, and then as this comes back, you draw for turn. So remember, you'd still have 3 more cards in your hand as well. So then as this comes back, just showing you the resource you have already, you can use the Light and Darkness to add it back to the hand and the Griffo. You've then got the ability to activate Mind Shuffle. So you can go for the Skull Archfiend if you want to, puts the Light and Darkness into the graveyard and builds up from there. Or you could go for your Black Chaos, which would then allow you to sweat this out. Or you can go for your, wherever it may be, you can go for the Magician of Black Chaos. I think I've drawn the Magician of Black Chaos, so you'd go here. So you go the Summon Skull to get you access to the Magician of Black Chaos. Griffo can get you the Quick Play spell card, the Magic of Hats, or the Mind Shuffle, either or you can just activate the Mind Shuffle. So, I'm trying to think what I would want to go for here, to be honest. I could go for the Celtic Mystic to try and open up the unknown, and then discard a card. So, but the idea is, you've recycled your Harmonia, you've recycled everything else here. Like, you're in a very good position. So, I mean, I suppose the base minimum you'd probably be looking for is if you go for the Magician of Black Chaos, you would then be able to just go, cool, Ritual, Light and Darkness, instead of the Celtic, let's add the Magician of Black Chaos, which is there, we go. So instead of the Celtic, add the Magician of Black Chaos, activate Light and Darkness, summon it down, put that there, Light and Darkness then comes back to the hand. You've then got your Skull Archfiend. So then Skull Archfiend can put the Griffo back, which is the Light and Darkness monster, your Synchro monster, and then one monster from your opponent's graveyard, and then you summon it back to the field. So this is how your field is currently ending. And even if you didn't want to summon down the Magician of Black Chaos, you could have Mind Shuffled it like this, and then Mind Shuffled again like this. But that requires your opponent to activate stuff. And then you'd activate the Light and Darkness. But the idea is that within your control, without relying on your opponent to activate stuff, you've got the ability of going 2-5. So this would attack for 3k, gain 15, attack again, 4-5, 2-8, 2-5. That's your game. And that's without using 4 cards. The cards you drew for turn, the 3 remaining cards you had in hand, and if they activate anything, you've got Harmonia as well to bounce them. So, yeah, the Harmonia is probably one of the best cards in this deck. It's pretty insane what it can actually do. The deck itself is still really cool. I like it. I know people will have, you know, their opinions on it, which is absolutely fine. I just feel that as a Yugi style deck, or like a Yami Yugi to be exact, it's a really fun deck. So it has that build of nostalgia, but it also has competitive applications as well in the current game. So I think it's a really good option to consider. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.